There's something Jewish millionaires do at 6 a.m. that poor people can't even imagine. It's not praying. It's not working longer hours. It's something so simple that when you hear it, you'll think it's obvious. But here's the problem. What's obvious isn't practiced, and what isn't practiced doesn't transform. The ancestral financial wisdom of the Jewish people isn't about having more money. It's about governing money before it governs you. The third habit I'll reveal today is so powerful it changed the life of a man who went from selling shoes on the street to owning a chain of stores in 3 countries. And it all started with a decision he made on an ordinary Tuesday. Shalom. I'm Rabbi Joseph, and for over 2 decades, I've studied the Jewish principles of prosperity that have sustained my people through exiles, persecutions, and global economic crises. Today, I'm not here to give you cheap motivation. I'm here to deliver thought patterns that have created wealth for over 3,000 years. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. Money doesn't follow people, it follows patterns. And when you change your patterns, your financial reality has no choice but to change. Let me tell you something I learned from the Talmud that revolutionized my understanding of money. It says, "Who is rich? The one who rejoices in their portion." For years, I interpreted this as conformity. I was completely wrong. What the secrets of Jewish millionaires really teach is this: the rich control their emotions about money. The poor are controlled by them. Look around you. How many people do you know who earn well but live stressed? How many have decent incomes but are always short on money? The problem isn't how much comes in. The problem is the emotional chaos with which they handle what comes in. Jewish millionaires practice something we call in Hebrew seder, order. Before spending, they organize. Before investing, they organize. Before dreaming of having more, they organize what they already have. And you know what I discovered? Order isn't boring. Order is freedom. Because when your finances are in order, your mind is free to create wealth instead of chasing money. There's a powerful story in the Torah about Joseph in Egypt. When Pharaoh called him to interpret his dreams, Joseph didn't just predict 7 years of abundance and 7 of famine. He gave an action plan. Save 20% during the good years. Do you see the pattern? Joseph didn't react to abundance by spending. He governed abundance with discipline, and that saved an entire nation. The poor see extra money and think, "What can I buy?" The rich see extra money and think, "How can I multiply this?" The difference isn't in the amount. The Talmud's teachings on money are clear. Whoever doesn't master their impulses will be mastered by their circumstances. Financial order doesn't begin with Excel. It begins with brutal honesty about where you are. Jewish millionaires don't deceive themselves. They know exactly how much they owe, how much they have, how much they need. The poor avoid looking at their numbers because they're afraid. And fear without action is paralysis. So what do millionaires do that the poor don't? They sit with the truth every week, no excuses. They review, adjust, correct. Not when they feel ready. They do it when it's right. And over time, this silent habit creates a gap so large it seems like luck, but it's not luck. This is how to make money according to the Torah, with order, with discipline, with truth. If what you're hearing resonates with you so far, give me a like and hit the bell so you don't miss the next Prosperity Secrets. We're going to go much deeper. Now, let's go deeper. There's a concept in Kabbalah called spiritual cause and effect. It sounds mystical, but it's brutally practical. It says this: everything you receive on the material plane has already been sown on the plane of actions. Translation: you can't reap what you haven't sown. The poor expect to reap before sowing. When I have money, I'll invest. When they pay me more, I'll save. When things get better, I'll give tzedakah. See the pattern? They wait for the harvest to come first. But that's not how the universe works. That's not how money works. And definitely that's not how Jewish prosperity principles work. Jewish millionaires save when they don't have, invest when it's uncomfortable, give when it hurts. Why? Because they understand something profound written in the Torah. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. Malachi 3:10. This isn't religion. It's spiritual physics. When you act as if you have, the universe responds as if you already are. When you behave like you're rich, before you are, you activate abundance patterns. I'm not talking about pretending. I'm talking about sowing with intelligent faith. I met a man in Sao Paulo named David who barely earned enough to survive. But every Friday before Shabbat, he set aside 10% of everything he earned for tzedakah, charity. His friends told him he was crazy. How can you give when you barely have enough? His answer was, I don't give from what's left over. I give from what I have and trust that Hashem will provide what I need. 3 years later, David had 2 thriving businesses. Magic? No, a pattern. When you demonstrate with actions that you trust in abundance, your subconscious mind begins to seek opportunities instead of scarcity. Business, according to Jewish wisdom, is built on this principle. Sow first, reap later. Always in that order. The poor say, I can't invest because I don't have. The rich say, I don't have because I haven't invested. See the difference? One waits for perfect conditions. The other creates conditions with action. Ancestral Jewish financial wisdom tells you, the best time to sow was yesterday. The second best time is now. And here's the most powerful secret. When you sow consistently, even a little, you train your brain to think like an investor, not like a consumer. The poor are consumers waiting for money. The rich are investors creating returns. According to the Torah verses on wealth, those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. But first come the tears. First comes the sacrifice, and that's where most people quit. I'm going to be direct with you. The poor live in the immediate present. Millionaires live in the created future. And this difference changes everything. In the Talmud, there's a powerful teaching. A wise person sees the future. This doesn't mean they predict the future. It means they build the future with present decisions. The secrets of Jewish millionaires aren't about earning more today. They're about creating systems that generate abundance tomorrow, next year, the next decade. Why have Jews survived 2,000 years? You know why Jews have survived as a people for 2,000 years without land, without an army, without government? Because they always thought 3 generations ahead. When a Jewish father educated his son, he didn't just think about his well-being. He thought about the well-being of his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. That's legacy mentality. That's true wealth. The poor ask, what can I buy this month? The rich ask, what asset can I build that will give me freedom in 5 years? One thinks about expenses, the other thinks about assets. One chases immediate pleasure, the other builds God's plan for abundance with strategic patience. There's a story I always share from the Talmud. It's told that the sage Honi was walking along a path and saw an old man planting a carob tree. He asked, how long will this tree take to bear fruit? The old man answered, 70 years. Honi, surprised, and do you think you'll live 70 more years to eat from its fruit? The old man smiled and responded, I found carob trees planted by my parents. Now I plant for my children. That's the mentality that creates dynasties. Jewish prosperity principles teach you. Think generationally, not monthly. And you know what happens when you think this way? You stop making stupid decisions. You stop going into debt for things you don't need. You stop chasing quick money that disappears even faster. You start building true value. Systems versus results. Jewish millionaires build systems, not results. They invest in education that will bear fruit in years. They create businesses that will generate passive income. They buy assets that appreciate over time. Meanwhile, the poor buy liabilities that depreciate. New cars, brand-name clothes, unnecessary technology. I'm not judging, I'm just observing the pattern. And here's the key. Long-term vision isn't sacrifice, it's delayed intelligence. It's saying no today so you can say yes to everything tomorrow. It's living like nobody lives today so you can live like nobody lives in 5 years. The Talmud's teachings on money are clear. Patience with purpose always beats urgency without direction. So what are millionaires doing while you read this? Planting trees that will bear fruit in 10 years, investing in skills that will make them invaluable, building relationships that will open doors, not because they're special, because they understand that how to get rich like the Jews isn't an event, it's a process that begins with clear vision and is sustained with daily discipline. If you're starting to see money in a completely different way, leave me a comment saying, I'm planting my carob tree. I want to know who's ready to think generationally. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, so you don't miss the financial discipline as a spiritual act coming next. For Jews, managing money well isn't just financial intelligence. It's a spiritual act. It's honoring the Creator with what He's entrusted to you. There's a powerful verse in Deuteronomy 8:18. Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. Read that again. It doesn't say God gives you wealth. It says He gives you the ability to produce it. The responsibility is yours. Torah verses on wealth always place the action in your hands, not in heaven. The poor pray for money. The rich pray for wisdom to multiply money. The poor ask for provision. The rich ask for strategy. See the difference? One expects miracles. The other acts with faith and allows the miracle to manifest through their obedience to the right principle. The 3 pillars of financial discipline. Financial discipline, according to ancestral Jewish financial wisdom, has 3 pillars. First pillar, immediate separation. When you receive money, the first thing you do is separate. 10% for tzedakah, charity, 10% for savings, 10% for investment, before paying any bills, before buying anything. This isn't a suggestion. It's a financial commandment engraved in Jewish tradition. Why does it work? Because you declare with action that you trust there will be enough, and that trust activates abundance. Second pillar, avoid consumer debt. The Talmud says the borrower is slave to the lender. Jewish millionaires understand that debt isn't bad in itself. Debt to build assets is leverage. Debt to buy liabilities is slavery. One makes you richer, the other makes you poorer, even if you earn more. Third pillar, conscious management. In Hebrew, there's a word balabatishkeit, being a good steward. It's not about being cheap. It's about being wise. Spend on what counts. Invest in what grows. Eliminate what only drains. Jewish prosperity principles teach you that every penny is a soldier that can work for you or against you. You decide where you send it. I met a woman, Rachel, who earned less than many of her friends. But while they bought financed cars, she bought small properties. While they traveled on credit, she invested in training. 10 years later, Rachel lives off her rental income. Her friends are still paying debts. The difference wasn't luck, it was discipline as a spiritual act. The poor see discipline as punishment. The rich see discipline as anticipated freedom, because they understand something profound. Every no today is a yes to tomorrow's freedom. The Talmud's teachings on money say, whoever guards their mouth and wallet guards themselves from anguish. And here's the final secret of this chapter. Financial discipline changes you as a person. It makes you more integrated, more trustworthy, more respectable. Because someone who can't control their money can't control their life either. And the Lord blesses those who prove to be good stewards of little to entrust them with much. We arrive at the heart of everything. The fundamental difference between rich and poor isn't money, it's mindset. And this isn't cheap personal development. It's an ancestral truth documented in thousands of years of Jewish history. In the Torah, when the spies returned from exploring the Promised Land, 10 of them said, "It's a land that devours its inhabitants. There are giants. We're like grasshoppers before them." But 2, Joshua and Caleb said, "The land is extraordinary. We can conquer it. The Lord is with us." Same land, same giants, 2 completely different mindsets. One saw obstacles, the other saw opportunities. One operated from scarcity, the other operated from confident abundance. Guess who entered the Promised Land? Only the 2 who believed. Mental patterns. The secrets of Jewish millionaires begin in the mind. The poor say, "There's not enough." The rich say, "There's always enough for those who create value." The poor say, "Money is hard to get." The rich say, "Money flows to those who solve problems." See the pattern? It's not what you do. It's how you think about what you do. The spiritual law of reflection, Kabbalah teaches something powerful. The external world is a reflection of the internal world. If your mind is full of scarcity, your life will manifest scarcity. If your mind is full of possibilities, your life will manifest opportunities. This isn't magic, it's spiritual law. The Talmud's teachings on money confirm it. Everything is in the hands of heaven, except the fear of heaven. Translation, God controls many things, but you control your attitude toward things. Jewish millionaires train their minds to see abundance, even in crisis. During the Great Depression, while millions went bankrupt, some Jews built empires. How? Because while everyone saw collapse, they saw opportunity. They bought properties at liquidation prices. They invested when everyone was selling, not because they were insensitive, because they thought differently. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are poor because they choose poverty thoughts. Not consciously, but they do. Every time they say, "I can't," they reinforce scarcity. Every time they envy instead of study, they reinforce limitation. Every time they justify their situation instead of changing it, they reinforce mediocrity. Jewish prosperity principles challenge you. What do you nourish in your mind? Crisis moves or growth strategies? Complaints about the system or plans to navigate it? Resentment toward those who succeed or curiosity to learn from them? Your answer determines your financial destiny. And let me tell you something revolutionary I learned from the greats. Tzedakah and prosperity are connected. When you give from a mental abundance, even if your wallet is empty, you declare to the Creator, "I trust there's more where this came from." And that declaration activates flows of blessing. Not because you're buying God, because you align your frequency with the frequency of abundance He designed. The poor withhold out of fear. The rich give strategically. The poor accumulate out of insecurity. The rich circulate with confidence. And the spiritual law is, what circulates multiplies. What you withhold out of fear stagnates. We've traveled a deep path today, from the order that governs chaos, through the seed that precedes the harvest, the vision that builds legacies, the discipline that honors the Creator, to the mindset that transforms realities. But let me be brutally honest with you. None of this matters if you don't act. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. And you didn't come here to be entertained. You came to transform yourself. The secrets of Jewish millionaires I share today aren't theory. They're patterns proven over millennia. They're principles that have sustained a people through the impossible. They're truths that, when applied, cannot fail. Not because I say so, because that's how Hashem designed the universe. So now the question is, what are you going to do differently tomorrow? Are you going to keep reacting to money, or will you govern it? Are you going to keep consuming, or will you invest? Are you going to keep living in the immediate present, or will you build the future you deserve? Jewish prosperity principles are there. Ancestral financial wisdom has been revealed. The patterns that separate millionaires from the poor have been exposed. Now it depends on you. The Lord has given you the ability to produce wealth. But ability without action is just wasted potential. Remember what the Talmud says. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. You don't have to change everything today, but you must begin. One step, one decision, one action. Choose to think like the rich, even if you're not yet. Choose to act with discipline, even if it's uncomfortable. Choose to sow, even if you don't see the harvest. And when you do, when you really do, the universe will have no choice but to respond. Because that's how spiritual laws work. That's how Torah verses on wealth work. That's how God's plan for abundance works. He provides the seed. You provide the land and the work. And together, you create the harvest. If you made it this far, and you're ready to stop thinking like the poor and start acting like a millionaire, write in the comments, I sow today, I'll reap tomorrow. Declare it with faith. Write it with conviction. Show that you're not just a spectator of knowledge, but an executor of wisdom. And if this message transforms something in you, share this video. Because truths that change lives shouldn't stay with you. They must circulate. They must bless. They must multiply. Hit like if this resonated with you. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week I share more ancestral prosperity secrets. Shalom, and may the Lord bless your path to true prosperity.